John's going to come into downward facing dog, kick his left leg up, and then come into a resting pigeon on the left side. Hopefully he has enough space. Yeah, there we go. Okay, props. Where do you use props in resting pigeon? So first he's going to put the block underneath of his hip, his front hip. So essentially, once again, looking for this like perineum placement, it's going, a lot of people will put it just under this butt cheek. And I like it more towards the center because you get you get support on both of the hips, which allows more equanimity through the hips. So you can't see this, but essentially, if he were to only have the yoga block underneath of his left hip, you would see this happen with the hips. If he had it only underneath of his right hip flexor, you would see this happen with the hips. And what we're looking for is a nice horizontal line across the hips. So if I were to lay this here, he's pretty even and level. Then from there, this other block he's going to take and put underneath of his chest, which is going to allow him to sink down. I really love the way that Amy Kidd cues this posture. So if people are up on the hands or up on the elbows, she will say, notice if you're holding tension in your shoulders, if you're holding tension in your jaw or your upper back. That is counter to what you're attempting to do in this posture. I'm going to challenge John and have him come up, moving towards a mermaid pose. So this is not something that comes naturally to him, but I just want you to see if this block is here, it's going to provide him a little bit more support to go up into the back bend because he's not relying on the strength of the outer hip to hold his body up in space. The block is providing him some support. So once again, this is a big stretch for a lot of men. So this is called Ekapada Rajkopatasana. Ultimately, if you have the range of motion, you're going to bring the foot to the back of the head and grab the foot with both of the hands. But that is largely inaccessible to the general population, even to a select bit of the population, very, very inaccessible. Just wanted to show you where you could use some props here. I'm going to have him come up and then turn forward so that we can maybe try to look at the placement of the shin. So you're going to turn towards the camera so that we can look at the placement of the front shin. Okay. We talked about the rotation at the knee joint during the anatomy section of teacher training. If his hip will not externally rotate enough to allow the heel to come forward along with, so there's a two joint mechanism happening here primarily. It could have something to do with the ankles too, but largely for the most people it does not. So there's a two joint mechanism here whereby if he can't get externally rotated through the femur here, he's going to take this as a shearing in the knee, as a shearing in the ligaments of the knee. The farther away from his perineum his heel goes, the more his body weight's going to shift over to the right. So I'm going to have him start to do that. So he's going to lift up just a little bit and see if he can bring his heel forward. That's about as far as most people are going to be able to go. So a lot of traditionalists, right, will say bring the inner ankle to the back of the opposite wrist. And I don't think that that's necessary. I think that you're setting people up a little bit for injury by using that cue. I'm going to have him flip on his back and we're going to look at what this might look like on the back, because a lot of times what we'll say to people is, if you can't get into pigeon, go into a figure 4 on your back. Turn towards head over here. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Say thank you to John if you see him. Thank you, John, for helping me with all of these videos. For the ankle to knee, so if he puts the sole of his right foot on the earth and then just put the sole of your foot on the earth and then bring your outer ankle to your knee. So the sole of your foot on the earth. Bend your right knee.
Sorry.
There you go. This is what we're looking at. This is a much easier way for him to get his shin to parallel. He is not using gravity here to push down on the external rotation of this leg. So while this is okay, I don't think that it has the same intelligence as a resting pigeon posture. You're still getting external rotation through the thigh, and this is a much less risky position for people to be in. But I would see how much you can prop someone up in a pigeon pose, especially if you're working with them individually or one-on-one. I would see how much you can get into that pigeon pose, even if you're not there for very long, instead of suggesting this as an alternative. It's kind of the same position, but it's not really. If he brings the sole of his right foot up, so he's in like a hovering tabletop, this helps. It's going to help get deeper into the hips. The placement of this lifted foot is going to be critically important. So if the ankle's directly over the thigh bone, that will be opening to this hip, but what would be more opening to this hip is if he takes his foot farther towards the back of the room over there. Oh baby, now we're getting somewhere. So if you're going to take somebody into a figure four in their back, this is more of what I'd like to see, is how far towards the midline of the body can he bring this crossed knee. Yes, and then keep pulling the knee back. Ta-da. How's that feel?
Fine.
Fine. Okay. Next posture.